If I look at the spiritual fatherhood of Hawaii, a lot of them came out of the Jesus People movement. So the great movie that Greg Laurie produced, incredible movie. A lot of Christian filmmakers are rising to the table, taking their seats at the table, actually. And I'm looking at this generation, and they're in their 70s, and they have served well. You know, my pastor moved on to the mainland, several of them. Wayne Cordero, Ralph Moore, they've all gone back to the mainland. And so there is been kind of a fatherhood, I guess a little bit of a fatherhood void that we have to fill. There's another guy here, he's retired from his church, but he's not leaving Hawaii. And he is definitely a spokesperson, a statesman. What would you say, other than, which is the great advice that you gave, is steward it well. Be very careful not to throw stones at the ones that did not make it this far, because not a lot of people are making it that far. What would you say to even the young leader that is not even a pastor that's going to take over a church? What would you tell them about the prospects of what church leadership looks like for all of us in the future? Hey everybody, welcome to the Pound for Pound Leader Podcast. Welcome back, in fact, and for those of you who are brand new, thank you so much for joining us. Please make sure that you hit subscribe and go to mikekai.tv, which is our landing page. There you're going to find out how you can subscribe to our YouTube, mikekai.tv, or Instagram. But I'm really excited and honored and privileged to bring to you part 2 of an incredible interview with one of my heroes and mentors, Dr. Sam Chand. He is a prolific author. He's written over 25 books. Next to John Maxwell, I don't know who's written more books on leadership or the subject of leadership than Dr. Sam Chand. As a matter of fact, I consider both of those men my mentors, and I'm grateful for them. But to hear the heart of Dr. Chand in part number 2 of this incredible podcast, you're going to want to share it. You're going to want to subscribe and listen, and I'll see you at the back end of this incredible interview with Dr. Sam Chand. You know, not only have giants been taken out, but they're also retiring. If I look at the spiritual fatherhood of Hawaii, a lot of them came out of the Jesus People movement. So the great movie that Greg Laurie produced, incredible movie. A lot of Christian filmmakers are rising to the table, taking their seats at the table, actually. And I'm looking at this generation, and they're in their 70s, and they have served well. You know, my pastor moved on to the mainland, several of them. Wayne Cordero, Ralph Moore, they've all gone back to the mainland. And so there is been kind of a fatherhood, I guess a little bit of a fatherhood void that we have to fill. There's another guy here, he's retired from his church, but he's not leaving Hawaii. And he is definitely a spokesperson, a statesman. What would you say, other than, which is the great advice that you gave, is steward it well. Be very careful not to throw stones at the ones that did not make it this far, because not a lot of people are making it that far. What would you say to even the young leader that is not even a pastor that's going to take over a church? What would you tell them about the prospects of what church leadership looks like for all of us in the future?
First of all, it's not going to look like anything like it looks like right now. I've seen that movie twice now, The Jesus Revolution. I'll probably see it again. My wife got saved in that movement. That she was in Michigan at that time, and that movement spread to her youth. She was not even, she was just a heathen. And this, what they call Christian rock groups. And I know all the old people listening to me right now know what I'm talking about, but the rest of you probably don't know what I'm talking about. These Christian rock groups, you know, they showed up at her school.
Wow.
And the 18-year-olds, revival broke out in the church. She got saved during that revival. So it's just crazy stuff. But the church is not going to look like anything that it looked like. It's, I think it's going to be bigger and smaller. It's going to be more home as well as corporate. It's going to be more organic as well as programmed. So it's going to be, we'll have to live not in an either or world, but in a both and world. And I see tinges of that happening right now. but it's going to be more of that. I would say to the emerging leader right now to be aware of the fact that people who laid the groundwork still have wisdom, still have knowledge, still have understanding. They're not discarded. You have no idea a phone call from you to say, hey, would you pray for me? Hey, I'm thinking about this. What it does for them, because a lot of them feel like a has-been, and their stories about what used to be rather than now. Invitations are not as much. If I was convening conferences, they may not be the keynote speaker, but I have 5 of them sitting on the platform just rambling, because old people can do that. It comes natural. Just, give them each a microphone and say, talk to us. No topic, just talk to us. There's so much depth there that is still to be had. I think even as I'm talking, story that comes to my mind is, so I'm 28 years of age. I've just been elected as a pastor. Yeah, in those days they had pastoral elections. If you've never been part of pastoral election, it's like going to a horse auction. They look in your mouth and under your tail. I mean, they ask you questions. You preach your best 2 sermons. They actually vote on you. You have to get, at least at that time in my church, had to get 75% of the vote to be voted in. So just imagine. So I'm newly married, and I am expecting our first baby, Brenda and I. It's 1980, summer of 1980, and I've just been elected. And that August, our movement, our denomination was having its annual conference in Ohio, Central Ohio. So I went to that conference.
From where were you living?
At that time in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was youth pastor in
Portland, I remember Oregon. That story. Yeah, you were in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, Portland, Oregon. I was youth pastor in Portland, Oregon. And now I got elected in Michigan. So we have our U-Haul, and we have moved to Michigan. And now I'm going, my first time as a pastor, to this conference. I'm the darkest person there. It's an all-white denomination.
Okay. So you have a mixed racial marriage, right? You're Indian.
Yeah.
Brenda's Caucasian.
Yes, she is.
Okay. From the South? Caucasian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were pastoring in Portland, Oregon as a youth pastor. What was a young Sam Chan like? Like, were you a fiery version? Young, fiery?
Yeah, I think so.
Fiery, funny?
Not so funny, but more fiery, because that was the thing those days, if you didn't spit till the 3rd pew.
That'd be me.
Yeah. If you didn't break a sweat and you didn't have a...
People were happy for the plexiglass when it first happened.
Yeah, the Pentecostal hack, and if you... And those are the days, yeah.
Wait. Okay, so who were your influences? Who influenced you when you were in Portland? Because at one time, Portland had some incredible pastors.
Yes.
Let me go through it. I think Iverson was there.
Dick Iverson.
I think Ron Mell was there.
Ron Mell.
Beaverton Foursquare Church.
Yeah. And Jerry
Cook.
Jerry Cook. East Side. Yeah, so I used to sneak into Jerry Cook's church, and he would be sitting in his lounging chair.
And he would preach from his chair.
Yeah, from his chair. And here's the funny part. One time I went over there, and this is what he said. He said, many of you are from other churches. Many of you are pastors over here. And he said, let me just tell you something. I know pastors who came over here and they saw me in my chair and with my sweater on, with my Bible in my lap, and doing expository teaching, and they went to their churches, they removed the pulpit and put a lazy boy chair there. Said, don't do that. That'll be your last Sunday. Yeah, he was. Those are some people's church.
Dale Galloway.
Dale Galloway, just up the road. Amazing.
Oh yeah,
amazing.
Wow.
And so different from each other.
That was the golden era, I would say, of the church in Portland, Oregon.
And then Wendell Smith came out of there and went to Seattle, know. So and then
Judah's dad.
Yeah, Judah's dad. And what I did not know at that time, here's the crazy part now, okay? So I did not know Wendell Smith. I knew his name, but did not know Wendell Smith from Dick Iverson and Frank DiMaggio and all these guys over there. So my pastor, So I'm the youth pastor. Pastor Curtis Mock was my pastor. Our name of our church was Shiloh Tabernacle in Gresham, Oregon, a suburb of Portland. And he says to me, hey, listen, we've been invited to go to the grand opening of this church. And so we went in, this was all purple. It was crazy. And I heard of Wendell Smith. Okay, so hold that thought for a minute. Wendell Smith.
Okay.
And then his daughter, Wendy, marries Benny Perez.
Mm-hmm.
Benny Perez engages me, this is 20-some years ago now, huh? Benny Perez engages me as his consultant when he moves to Las Vegas.
Okay.
Benny Perez tells Wendell Smith about me.
Okay.
Wendell Smith invites me, the young youth pastor, who is now, has been senior pastor in Michigan, has been a university president in Atlanta, invites my new iteration to come and consult with him.
Wow.
From Atlanta for 6 years. I flew every month to Seattle to meet with Wendell Smith.
No way.
6
I love that.
years, every month.
And then who introduced us?
Yeah,
Benny Perez.
See how, so
On a phone call,
yeah.
when I picked him up from the airport, and I'm driving him to his hotel. Hey, Mike, you got to meet Dr. Sam Chan. Oh, I'd love to meet him. And he gets on the phone. Dr. Chan, this is Mike Kai right here. You know, and you said, is any way I can serve the vision of your church?
Yeah.
Amazing.
So back to your question.
Okay.
If you are an emerging leader, know this one thing. Everywhere you're going to go in life, it'll be because of somebody else. You will never get yourself anywhere in life. You will be anywhere you are in life because of some. So I'm sitting here talking to you because of Benny Perez.
Yeah.
I was able to serve an iconic church and Judah Smith for his earlier years in Seattle and even after his relocation to LA because of Benny Perez's introduction and influence. So I want every leader to know this. You didn't get anywhere by yourself. Somebody took you there. So never get so full of yourself to forget who brought you to the table. And anywhere you're going to go in life, there's going to be relationships. So my question is, who are your relationships? And who are you elevating because of your relationship? Because when you give relationships away, they always come back to you.
I learned this from you. So today I just sent a text message to the guy Darius Daniels.
Oh yeah.
His name is Mark. Okay, and he helps Darius with his coaching program. I get introduced yesterday through a text message from Jeff Kemp, who's a men's speaker, former NFL quarterback, who asked me to help his friend Johnny to more about books. I call Mark, I call Johnny. I find out from Johnny that his pastor is your good friend. He's in the Baltimore area. The Baltimore area. I forget his name.
John Jenkins?
John Jenkins. Did I meet him in St. Thomas?
No, you did not.
Okay, but I've heard the name John Jenkins.
Yes. He's an amazing pastor.
Okay.
Glenarden First Baptist Church of Glenarden. He's been my friend. He's my client. I'm a retained consultant, so he pays me. Hey, John Jenkins, if you're listening, I love you, man.
We're shouting out everybody today.
Yeah.
You know what I love about it? So what I learned was I'm constantly introducing people on text messages.
There you go. And it all come back to you?
It'll come back eventually. You know, it's just doors. I actually had the thought yesterday, and I know the audience is going to go, "What? You thought that?" I did. I said, I'm too tired to introduce these guys. It's kind of, I got stuff to do, and I'm going to introduce them. You know what I mean? And it just, I find myself doing that at least once a week, putting new people in touch with people that need to meet each other.
Absolutely. So, story. I started to tell you one story about
we were talking about the horse show.
Remind me to come back to that.
Yeah, we're going to come back to that.
So I was president at Beulah Heights University in Atlanta. I don't know if you know what a university president does. Over 70% of what we do is we raise money. We raise money. So we are basically dressed up beggars, okay? So
Okay.
that's what we do. We raise money.
Right.
So there was this guy who had started a nonprofit in Atlanta, was doing good work, and he made an appointment, came talk to me. He said, hey, listen, I need some counsel. I'm starting this thing. I need some money because every nonprofit needs money. How do I go about it? So even I was talking to him, I knew exactly the person who would fund him and fund him significantly. High 6 figures, maybe low 7 figures. It was like that.
Wow.
Wow. So I knew it was this guy was doing what this guy's passion is, but he has the money, this guy's got the know-how and boots on the ground.
Okay.
I'm sitting there saying to myself, but this funder also funds me. And so what's going through my mind is if I introduce him to him, he might divert his funding there and I might lose out. So I never told him about him. But I didn't feel clean about that. So after he left, of course, I said to him what we all say, I'll pray for you and I'll be praying for you. And yes, if something comes up, I'll let you know, kind of thing. So when he leaves, I call my friend Bob Lupton. Bob Lupton is a great urban warrior, just an amazing guy, Bob Lupton. And I called him, he was on my board. I said, hey, Bob, this just happened in my office. I don't feel good about it. Make me feel good. He said, oh man, you missed an opportunity to be blessed.
Wow.
He said, you will never lose because of that. So I called the guy back. And I said, I have just the guy for you. And I'll make the introduction for you. And he, no doubt, is going to fund you. And so I made the introduction.
Okay.
That guy not only funded him, but increased his funding for me.
Wow.
So Bob Lupton
Yeah.
taught me that lesson that you never go wrong by giving your assets away.
Wow.
I won't say it again. You never lose by giving your assets, because somebody in a great book once said, whatsoever you sow,
Wow.
whatsoever you sow,
Whatsoever.
you sow. So as you sow your assets, and in your case, Pastor Mikekai, you sow your honored and respected relationships, that shall you also reap. And harvest season is not controlled by us,
Yeah.
but it's controlled at the right time. So keep sowing. Keep
That's
making those
awesome.
connections.
That's awesome.
It all comes back to you.
That's awesome. So true. So tell us.
So I'm 28 years of
You're
age.
28 years old. You're giving
And-
your best sermon.
Yeah, I've
Best
just
two.
been elected. I go to this conference, and our bishop was Bishop Chester Miller. Call him Dr. Chester Miller. An American man, but a former missionary to Brazil. Did great work in Brazil. Him and his wife Rachel.
Wow.
So I see him. He's a very soft-spoken man. Nothing flamboyant about him. So I see him across the parking lot. I can still see myself as a hot, sultry, humid day in central Ohio. I see him across the parking lot. I'm 28 years of age. My life vision is fulfilled. I'm a pastor of a church. I run across the parking lot and I say, Brother Miller, because that's what we said in those days, Brother Miller. Brother Miller. And he stops and I said, Brother Miller, have you heard? I've been elected pastor in Michigan. I wanted him to be exuberant, but he wasn't. And he said, I heard, Brother Sam, I heard. I said to him, Brother Miller. Now you got to understand, I'm 28 years. I haven't been slapped around by church people yet. That picture of the 6 toilets had not opened up on my mouth yet, So that had not happened to me. So I'm still, feeling good about myself. So, Brother Miller, if there was one piece of advice you would give me, what would that be? Only 28-year-old young pastors ask that question. What's the one piece of advice you could give me? What would that be? He gave me his best advice. I left from there so disappointed. I felt like the rich young ruler. I was given wisdom of the world, and I could not comprehend it. This is what he did. He looked at me, then he looked down at the asphalt. Then he didn't make eye contact. I can still see him. He looked down at my chest. He just looked at me like that. In a very soft voice, he said this to me. It's August of 1980. He said, Brother Sam, live long, live clean. Live long,
Wow.
live clean. And then he walked away.
Wow.
At 70 years of age, Pastor Mike, that's rubies and pearls.
Yeah. Sobering.
Live long,
Yeah.
live clean. So if you're listening to me right now, I want to echo, I wish I had said that, but I want to echo the words of Bishop, Dr. Brother Chester Miller. Live long. Live clean. And that's all it is.
So true. So true. Yeah. Just started thinking, Let me ask you a question. What is the common thread of leaders that you've seen survive, thrive, and then the ones that have derailed? What's the common thread between the survivors, common thread between the thrivers, and the common thread of the derailed?
There's one common thread on all three of them.
Okay.
Is the company you keep.
Wow.
Who in your life can slap you around? Who in your life can say no to you? Who in your life can say to you, you're being an idiot, stop that?
Wow.
Is the company you keep. If you're around survivors, if you're around thrivers, who are around people who got derailed, it is just like that. So, there's an author by the name of Ernest Hemingway. He's written many books. One of the books he wrote was The Sun Also Rises. Fiction books. So there are two characters in the book, Mike and Bill. Mike is going bankrupt. His friend Bill asks Mike a question. He said, hey, Mike, how did you go bankrupt? And here's what the rest of this is all being based on. He says, gradually and then suddenly. So anybody you see thrive, survive, derailed. Gradually and then suddenly.
That guy seemed to come out of nowhere, no?
No. And so the anatomy is given in Psalm.
That's for the thrive. Right.
Chapter 1, for Psalm, chapter 1,
Okay.
verse 1 and 2. It says, blessed is the man who, 3 steps, walketh not, standeth not. I'm going King James here
Yeah,
on
you
purpose.
Are. Yeah, not even New King James.
No.
Straight King James.
King James. Yeah. Walketh not, standeth not, sitteth
Seated.
not.
Right.
Those are the 3 postures of sin. So if I'm walking along and I see a naked woman and I keep on walking, I'm cool.
Yeah.
Gradually and then suddenly, right?
Right.
I stand and I look at her and say, Mamma mia. God, when you did that work, whoo, you were on your A game. Gradually. When I sit down, it's over.
Yeah.
So the company you keep, the company that tolerates your misbehavior. So the people around the people who got derailed,
Yeah.
boy, they're full of stories right now. I saw that happen then, and I saw that then, and I saw that coming.
Oh,
so what were you doing? Buying tickets to watch the derailment?
They're on the documentary.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is, who do you have in your life
Yeah.
that is not beholden to you? That you are not their god or their goddess? That you don't hold the life that they live right now.
Well, the challenge is, if you're in that predicament, you're not going to want to surround yourself with somebody that can tell you no. You're only going to put people around you that will tell you yes, or they're not going to say anything at all. And what if you've invited those people into your life to have a potential no, but you have not empowered them to do that, or when they've brought their no to you, then you've shut them down or you fight them, and then it's going to be gradually and suddenly too.
Gradually and suddenly. Because walketh, standeth, sitteth.
Yeah.
So what I do, I'll just tell you what Sam Chan does. And my wife gets all upset with me at times because she thinks I'm overstepping my bounds. But those are our internal arguments. So when I see somebody doing stupid, I call them.
That's life-saving.
Yeah. And in most cases, they'll come back and say, thank you. In most cases, not in all cases. I remember there was this young pastor whose church was growing and blowing. I'm talking about the thousands, not hundreds, thousands. It was just massive what was going on. So he got invited to all kinds of talk shows, Christian talk shows on all kinds of Christian TV networks.
Yeah.
I don't watch a lot of that, but this so happened. I watched him, he was there. And he was pontificating and saying things that I knew that he had no business saying. And so I texted him. I said, because it was a live program, I said, call me after you're out of there. So he did. And I had the conversation with him, saying, you have not earned your stripes to be saying what you're saying. Just because your church is growing and blowing does not mean that you have the gravitas to say the kind of things and aspersions that you were casting, that if everybody is not blessed like you are, as if you did that thing. So, be careful how much credit you take
Wow.
for what God is doing in your life. But I, don't feel like a lot of the leaders surround themselves, and they don't even have to surround themselves. If you're listening to me right now and you see somebody like that, take the risk. The worst thing that will happen is they won't like you. Worst thing that will happen is they won't invite you to come speak at their place. But if that's the worst thing, I'm not talking about being a critic of everybody.
Yeah.
But when you see a lifestyle somewhere, somebody's got to say something and not buy tickets and then talk about it on some kind of a program that, I saw that. So I think we're all responsible for each other. Are you, the question is still true that God asked, of Cain.
Right.
And it was a rhetorical question.
You already knew the answer.
And the answer is, am I my brother's keeper? And the resounding answer is, yes, you are. Stewardship. See, it goes back to stewardship. If I was that program and I saw something that was going to hurt this brother, am I a steward of that moment?
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Did he take your advice, and where's he at today?
He did not take my advice. His family disintegrated.
Wow.
And he's not at his church.
Wow. Somebody that can tell you no, or several. Several. Very, very important. Dr. Chan, this is valuable lessons. I got mentorship, I got leadership, I got culture. But
can I ask you a question?
Sure.
God is doing something phenomenal at Inspire Church right now. So I'd like for you to do two things.
Okay.
One is to tell our listeners, viewers, what God is doing. And the second, more important question is, so what are you learning through that?
The first one is easy to answer. Second one is a little bit more difficult. First one is, since the month of September, when I seriously began to track this.
How many months ago that would be if someone's listening to us 2 years
that would
from
be
now?
like 7 months ago.
Okay.
7 months ago.
In the last 7 months.
In the last 7 months, when I seriously began to ask for the statistics, because I like numbers, because numbers tell us how we're doing. They don't tell they don't give you the whole picture, but they give you a lot. And I wanted to know how many people have gotten saved since the month of September. And since the month of September, not counting Christmas and not counting Easter, we've had over 7,000 salvations take place.
In 7 months, 7,000 salvations. That's an important number?
Yes,
Okay.
it's probably more than that. And so the average is between 280 to 300 salvations every weekend. And before that, we would get maybe about 145 or 225. But it's gone up exponential. It's doubled. And I think it's because people are hungry for God. I think being in the middle of the Pacific, people understand and are now beginning to understand how precarious we are right here in the middle of the Pacific. We've got foreign threats in our waters. We've had balloons over our skies before it hit the continental U.S. We have our own unique challenges with our own water supply, which have been tainted. We've got all this economic pressure with the inflation and the cost of living already on top of that. People are getting priced out of paradise. They're moving out of Hawaii. It's a pressure cooker in paradise. But people are hungry for God. And it's what we've been praying for. It's what we've been preaching. The fame of revival spreads the flame of revival, I've been told. And we've been re-preaching on the Hawaiian revival that took place in the 1800s. Elmer Towns ranks it in the top 10. I think the book is back there. Top 10 in the history of the world, what happened in the Hawaiian Islands in the 1830s to the 1860s. So people are coming, and they're getting saved. Now, I can't control the parable of the talents, right? 1 out of 4. 1 out of 4. And even that is hard. But I can tell you this, I'm excited about it. We're stewarding it. It's fragile, I believe. At the same time, the presence of God can be fragile. He's not fragile, but the presence can be. That's what I'm learning. I'm learning that it is a stewardship and a fragility to a move of God that you cannot take for granted. And I cannot take for granted the numbers. I don't want it to be a flash in the pan. I want it to be a sustained revival, sustained over years, not weeks or months. I think that's what I'm learning.
Well, may the Lord continue to use you and bless you. And I also know that
Thank you.
Many of the visitations of God are seasonal. Fragility of the season, huh?
Yeah.
When it's harvest time, it's not sowing time. When sowing time is not harvest time, there are times. And God trusts you. Stewardship and fragility.
Yes. Thank you.
It's been a good one.
It's been great. This is going to go in the books. It's going to be powerful. Everybody, you've been listening to Dr. Sam Chan, incredible author, consultant, friend, coach, speaker, podcaster now, you name it. And it is such a pleasure and a privilege to be with him. Dr. Chan, thank you for joining me.
What an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Will you join me for lunch now?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Incredible, powerful. I've interviewed a lot of people on this podcast or in different platforms, and they're all incredible high-level leaders, but this was probably the most emotional and heartfelt interview that ever took place. Never did I ever think that two people, Dr. Chan and myself, would be tearing up during this podcast. If you didn't get to hear part 1, go back and get part 1. You're going to want it. But if you already got part 1, last week's version, and you got part 2, listen to this and send it, share it. Share it with your pastor, share it with a leader, share it with your friends, because this could be life-changing and also life-saving. One of the biggest things that he said was, live clean and live long. That's one of the most powerful things he said. Live clean, live long. When he said live long, live clean, but it doesn't matter. It was powerful. It was incredible. Thank you so much. I hope your summer is going great. Thank you for all that you're doing right now, and let's go out there and make a difference. Thank you for joining me on the Pound for Pound Leader podcast. Please go to mikekai.tv to subscribe. That's the landing page. Look forward to hearing from you soon. Until then, take care. God bless you, and aloha.